Hey everyone, this is D-Vyne. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. Back in 2003, rapper Chingy was riding a big wave of success with hits like Right There and One Call Away from his debut album, Jackpot. But after a major fallout with his label amidst other scandals, the rapper soon fell off the map, almost like he was never once at the top of his game. Howard Earl Bailey Jr. was born on March 9, 1980 in St. Louis, Missouri. He grew up in Walnut Park, also referred to as the Bad Blocks, where he lived in his grandmother's two-bedroom home with up to a dozen other family members. His parents worked hard to provide for their family, but despite their best efforts, they never really had much to go around. Add his 5 siblings, and that was even less. He fell in love with music at a young age, writing his own lyrics since the age of 8 or 9. By the age of 10, his parents split up, and he and his siblings were hopping back and forth between 2 households. He had his first major brush with the law when he had to serve a month in a juvenile detention center for stealing a car. After that horrible experience, he vowed to clean up his act so he never had to return. He attended the McLaren North High School, where his friends called him Howie, which he still prefers to this day, and he continued to focus on music, forming a rap duo called LSD with a neighborhood friend. They would often do talent shows together, trying to get their name out there, and at the age of 16, he started rapping under the name Thugsy or H-Thugs. By then, they'd added a third member and started going by Without Warning. Things didn't quite work out with the group, and so they eventually disbanded. By the time he graduated from high school in 1999, he was already a father of a son, Michael. He was trying to make ends meet, doing odd jobs, but music was always his passion. He formed another trio called 3 Strikes. He also became affiliated with the St. Lunatics, another popular local group that was getting a lot of buzz at the time, especially their standout member, rapper Nelly, who really paved the way for St. Louis rappers at the time. But even with this connection to a successful group, 3 Strikes wasn't able to achieve their own success, so they split up. Chingy did go on tour with Nelly and the St. Lunatics back in 2002, which gave him a little exposure. He also linked up with the Track Stars, a local production team, and they worked with him on his first solo cuts. They saw a lot of potential for him to be a successful solo artist, so they signed him to a production deal. At the time, Track Stars were managed by Ebony Sun Entertainment, which was jointly operated by Def Jam exec Shaka Zulu and his brother Jeff Dixon. He listened to some of Chingy's music and expressed interest in working with him. Shaka Zulu got him a deal with Disturbing the Peace, the label he co-owns with rapper Ludacris, who he also manages. Chingy was being managed by Shaka Zulu and his brother, but there was no management contract either. Not the smartest decision he has ever made, but he was clearly desperate to get financial backing, so he put himself in a very vulnerable position. In July 2003, they released Jackpot. Capitol Records agreed to handle distribution. Jackpot was a smashing success, fueled by the summer party anthem, Right There, which dominated the airwaves, peaking at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album featured guest appearances from rappers like Ludacris, Snoop Dogg, Trina, Jermaine Dupri, among others, and it produced 2 other top 3 hits, One Call Away and Holiday Inn. Within a year of its release, the album was already certified platinum. Chingy was one of those rappers that had us all acting a fool in the early 2000s, and for good reason. So needless to say, he was definitely set for stardom. But drama quickly erupted behind the scenes with Chingy and DTP, and I really feel like this played a big role in derailing his career. After being advised by a local lawyer that his mother recommended to him, he did an interview with XXL magazine where he accused DTP and Shaka Zulu of mismanaging his money. According to the lawyer, the label was stealing from him. Now, he didn't do his due diligence, he just kind of ran with it at the time. He never had an official management contract with Shaka Zulu, but was being managed by him regardless. He had no lawyer or accountant, which he readily admits. And after the huge success of his debut album, and I'm talking millions and millions in sales, he started realizing that he needed legal representation. Of course, DTP and Ebony's son have denied all of his claims and proceeded to drop him from the label because, as they put it, they couldn't have a member of their crew making false accusations against them. And I have to agree with them on this. This all went down while they were working on his sophomore album, so there was some confusion about how they were going to proceed. His lawyer made a statement outlining that he was no longer a DTP artist and was now solely signed to Capitol Records. Despite everything that went down, he took his L because he knew he should have had an accountant and a lawyer to properly represent his interests. And when you leave yourself vulnerable, someone is likely to take advantage of that. So I guess you could call this a learning experience for him. Shaka Zulu has stated that he always advised Chingy to find separate management, but Chingy insisted that he handle everything. He claimed that he refrained from drafting up a contract because he didn't want Chingy to feel obligated to him. Is it just me, or does this kind of smell like BS? So he's trying to tell me that he was so concerned about Chingy's feelings that he didn't want to tie him down? Sir, this is business. Y'all weren't friends? You didn't get rich off being worried about people's feelings? Chingy wasn't paying attention to his business dealings, and Shaka Zulu saw an easy target. Plain and simple. He maintains that Chingy was paid all that was due to him and that no funds were withheld or stolen, which he claims was proven when Chingy got a new accountant and lawyer and everything was audited. This was really poor form from Chingy because you need to make sure you get a second, third, and fourth opinion before you go busting out serious accusations like that. I know he learned a hell of a lot from all of this because everything practically went to hell for him after this. This was definitely one of the biggest mistakes of his career. So, as his relationship with DTP ended, Chingy founded Slaughter Records, an imprint under Capitol Records. He realized that the only person he could trust was himself, since no one else was going to do right by him. He felt like he was being held back and wasn't allowed to grow as an artist. He signed a few artists, including his own brother, and started doing a promotional tour. In the following year, he decided to try out some acting as well, making appearances on My Wife and Kids, One-on-One, and George Lopez.
Who's Chingy?
Who's Chingy? Videos are on all the time. Balla Baby. Holiday Inn.
Is he okay, George? Hey, what is Chingy doing here?
Lady doesn't want to go. Lady doesn't go.
The lady's 15.
I'm out.
He also did a few other TV and movie roles throughout his career. Thankfully, he did not quit his day job. But it seems like he wanted all the smoke because he ran into some other drama with another prominent rapper, which we mentioned before, Nelly. Nelly dropped a track called Another One, incorporating lyrics from Chingy's Right There. Nelly took a dig at him, I assume to humble him, reminding him that Nelly set the stage for Chingy's current success as a rapper from the country.
I like the way you do that right there. You just remember why you do that right there. I made it tight to be country. They thought country was bummy until country start making money. Now they all in Kentucky.
This did not sit right with Chingy because although he acknowledges that Nelly did open doors for artists from St. Louis to be accepted into mainstream markets, he has been in the game just as long as Nelly. He felt like Nelly had no right to say that, but although it was an unnecessary dig and probably just manufactured beef to stir things up for more press, there is some truth to it. They both might have been at it for the same length of time, but Nelly's success helped to show the world that artists like him were viable, so you can't call his statement false. I agree that it didn't need to be said, but it definitely isn't false. Now, Chingy could have left well enough alone, and I wish he did, but he decided to lash out with a diss track called We Got, if you can even call it that. I cringe just thinking about it. In an interview with MTV, he expressed that he was tired of guys like Nelly and Luda taking shots at him in interviews and songs. He also let it be known that he had more where that came from, but honestly, I really don't think anyone felt threatened by that because what he already gave was lacking. Nelly responded to Chingy's comments explaining that he saw Chingy at an award show around that time and Chingy had nothing to say to his face, so if he had an issue with Nelly's song, then he should have gone to him and had a conversation like a man about it when he saw him. At least that's what Nelly said. He thinks the whole situation was blown out of proportion because he was spitting facts. He did put St. Louis rap on the map, and he thinks Chingy was being disrespectful towards him and not really acknowledging the role he played in opening doors for him. And maybe Nelly was feeling a little threatened as well by Chingy's growing success, but honestly, he was doing way better at the time, and there was more than enough space for the two of them to coexist. It was pretty corny on Nelly's part. They eventually hashed things out and in recent years have had a decent relationship. Riding on the high from his debut album, he finally dropped his sophomore album, Parbalin, the following year, which peaked at number 10 on the charts and featured the hit single Balla Baby. He had another all-star lineup of features with Lil Wayne, Janet Jackson, R. Kelly, David Banner, among others, including artists from his new label. It didn't even take a year for this album to go platinum. After this album, things gradually started declining for Chingy. He dropped a third album, Hood Star, in 2006, and despite featuring the banger Pulling Me Back featuring Tyrese, the follow-up single Dem Jeans featuring Jermaine Dupri didn't do very well. The album did go gold, so it wasn't a failure, it just obviously did not do as well as his first two albums. Additionally, Chingy started feeling like Capitol wasn't doing enough to promote their urban artists, instead pushing pop artists. So in the following year, he left the label and returned to DTP Records. Surprise, surprise! It seems him and Shaka and them were able to make amends and things felt good enough for him to give it a second try, and then things just went south again. His fourth album, Hate It or Love It, didn't produce not one top 10 hit. It didn't even get close, making it Chingy's first album not to feature in the top 10. According to Chingy, DTP once more failed to promote his album, and so he just decided that their business relationship needed to end, again because it wasn't working out. Now, back in 2010, Chingy had a brief encounter with transgender model Sydney Starr, who was working as a backup dancer at a Ludacris concert in Chicago. Chingy recalls meeting Starr, who he thought was just a fan. She approached him asking to take a picture, which he agreed to. That brief encounter, though, turned into a huge scandal when rumors started circulating that he had been involved in a relationship with Starr for 2 years. A few years later, Starr admitted in interviews that she had lied about being with Chingy and that it was just a normal fan interaction. But by then, the damage had already been done. If you ask Chingy, this was what destroyed his career. He claims that this caused him to lose a record deal as well as other opportunities because of all the lies. But as I said before, I really think that that whole thing that went down with Luda and Shaka Zulu played a big part in it, and something tells me that Luda played a part in his downfall as well, even though he did end up linking up with them again, but you don't know what went down behind the scenes. While this whole mess was going down, he announced that he was working on another album called No Risk, No Reward. But at this point, not even a betting man was willing to bet on Chingy anymore, so it was never released due to lack of funding. He was fighting for his life to even stay in the game.
This is not me, I'm fighting for my life!
He ended up dropping a mixtape that year, followed by his EP Chingology the following year. In 2013, Chingy announced that he was now a practicing Black Hebrew Israelite, and followed that up with the release of the music video for his track King Judah, which was his attempt to move away from mainstream music. Maybe this was a last-ditch effort to see if some higher power could intervene on his behalf, because honey, things were looking dismal for him. He also collaborated with New Zealand-based model and singer Lucy X on the track Watch the World, which did get to number 2 on the iTunes Urban chart. He changed labels again in 2017, signing with Bungalow Records, which is distributed through Universal Music Group. He was featured on the Millennium Tour, which was headlined by Omarion, and included popular early 2000s acts like Ashanti, Bow Wow, Mario, Pretty Ricky, Lloyd, among others. The tour was postponed due to the pandemic, but picked back up in 2021, and it seems that everything went well with that tour. Chingy found himself in another situation when comedian Tiffany Haddish started going around talking about how she slept with him back in the early 2000s. Now, I don't know why she felt that this was something she needed to tell everybody, but hey, it's Tiffany Haddish. It was almost like she was doing a damn media tour because she was on Ellen, The Breakfast Club, doing the most. According to her, she slept with Chingy 2 months after meeting him. He was tired and tipsy at the time, so he didn't remember what went down. But later on, when he slept with one of her friends, she decided to get revenge and slept with his brother. She claims that she was tipsy on both occasions, so I'm sure it wasn't anything to write home about, but it did cause a little stir for a while. Chingy went on Instagram to deny her claims, saying that he never slept with her, but that she did sleep with his brother. And he also mentioned that she liked him. So I don't know what to tell you. He eventually spoke to his brother, who confirmed that it was in fact true. So he later admitted to it publicly. But man, he's had a wild ride with all of the scandals and beefs he's been involved with throughout his career so far. I'm curious to know what you guys think, so drop a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Until next time.